Hello, how you doing? Hope you guys having a good day out there. Well, it was the last video I was going to show you, but I'm going to tie this in. What they did back in the past, and what they did in the present, and how they use religion, how to use this from the black people from back then, and how they subjugated. Some people subjugated and bound them mentally. And but before they bound them, they had to really do horrific things. Here's the horrific things they did.
The Mazda CX-90 comes standard with a turbo inline-six and all-wheel drive.
In the chaos following the Boston mass killing, Crispus Attucks' lifeless body lay on the ground, his sacrifice fueling the flames of revolution. But amidst the outrage and grief, a sinister plot unfolded. A doctor driven by morbid curiosity and greed secretly collected Attucks' body, taking a portion of his skin without consent or respect. The doctor, John Warren, saw an opportunity to profit from the martyr's fame. He tanned the skin and sold it to a bookbinder, who crafted a small notebook from the gruesome material. Warren's plan was to peddle the notebook as a macabre souvenir, capitalizing on Attucks' legendary status. The notebook's inscription, made of tanned skin of the Negro whose execution caused the War of Independence, was a cynical marketing ploy, meant to entice buyers with its association with the American Revolution. Warren cared little for the symbolic significance. His goal was to line his pockets with gold. Attucks' skin, once a part of a vibrant living man, was now a commodity, reduced to a mere curiosity for the morbidly fascinated. The notebook became a dark symbol of exploitation, a stark contrast to the heroism and sacrifice that Attucks embodied. Today, the notebook resides in the Wellcome Collection in London, a haunting reminder of the callous disregard for human life and dignity that can accompany even the most noble causes. In today's video segment, sorrowful as it is, we're going to delve into the most dark and disturbing chapter of human history, a story of exploitation, cruelty, and the commodification of the bodies of innocent blacks who were stolen from their continent and shipped aboard the Atlantic to a foreign land, terribly tortured, enslaved, and as though not enough, whose bodies were, to the very extreme utmost degradation, used for the leathers of shoes, bags, wallets, furnitures, wristwatches, and so on and so forth. We will explore the history of black leather, the people who were affected by it, and the lasting impact it has had on the lives of black people today. Before we go on, do not forget to support our work by hitting the thumb button, share feelings in the comment section below, and share video with friends and families to keep spreading our eye-opening black narrative. Also, kindly subscribe to stay tuned in if you are yet to. Let us dive in. Imagine to ever learn that the skin of certain humans were at a time harvested like animal hide, processed into leather, and turned into everyday goods. This is the dark reality of the transatlantic slave trade, where enslaved Africans were subjected to unimaginable cruelty and exploitation. In the early 19th century, a disturbing practice emerged in the transatlantic slave trade, where the skins of enslaved Africans were harvested and treated like animal hide to create leather goods. The use of black people's skin for leather, books, furniture, and other materialistic things has been in constant existence since the early years of the 1800s. It was a disturbing and well-documented historical practice. During this time, enslaved Africans and African Americans were subjected to unimaginable cruelty, and their skin was harvested after death or killing to create leather goods. This practice was particularly prevalent in the southern United States, where slavery was most prominent. Between 1526 and 1867, over 12 million enslaved people were forcibly brought to the Americas, with several million others dying during the brutal journey. Little were we told that those blacks who had died in the Middle Passage, whose bodies weren't discarded into the Atlantic, were preserved to further accomplish the inhumanity and barbarism towards the black race. They had been turned into black leather, a term used to describe the skin of enslaved people, tanned and treated to create shoes, belts, saddles, and even book bindings. This shocking practice was not only a manifestation of the dehumanizing nature of slavery, but also a lucrative industry that profited from the suffering of others. The process of making human leather was gruesome, with enslavers harvesting skin and treating it with chemicals and processes similar to those used for animal leather. This practice, known as the black leather, started in the Americas, particularly in the southern United States, where slavery was rampant. The use of human skin was first documented in the early 1830s, and it later gained momentum in the 1840s and 1850s as the demand for exotic leather goods increased. This practice was mostly prevalent in the southern United States, where slavery was most prominent. Enslavers would tan and treat the skin of these black individuals to create various leather products, including book bindings, wallets, belts, saddles, and shoes. This process was widely accepted and even advertised in newspapers and catalogs, with some companies specializing in Negro leather or black leather goods. The use of their skin for leather products was a further dehumanizing act, reducing their bodies to mere materials for consumption. Companies and individuals involved in human tanning obtained the skin of people through a web of exploitation and violence. Enslaved people who died or were killed on plantations or during transportation were the major victims. They had their skin taken without consent or respect. Indigenous peoples were also targeted, killed and exploited during colonial expansion, their skin harvested as a byproduct of conquest. The Negro Leather Company, based in Philadelphia, is a perfect example of the legal organizations involved in this gruesome enterprise. There they would procure human skin from enslaved people who had died or been killed. On most occasions, they purchased the bodies of these individuals from people who were willing to sell them, or from slave owners at high prices. After purchase, they'll clean and prepare the skin, removing flesh and fat, and soak it in water or a solution to soften it. The skin would be scraped or dehaired to remove excess hair or tissue, before being treated with tanning agents like vegetable or mineral tannins. Once tanned, the skin would be softened and conditioned with oils or waxes to make it supple and workable. The company would then cut and craft the human leather into various products, such as book bindings, wallets, or belts. These products would be finished with additional treatments like dyeing, embossing, or applying protective coatings. Ever heard of the word anthropodermic bibliopagy? This is the word for the act of binding books with human skins. On hearing this, I bet the questions going on in the minds of some of you watching out there are, is there any such thing? Why would someone make these? What's in between the book covers used? Whose skin is it? What do they smell like? However, here are a few examples of books, among several others, that were binded with the skin of enslaved black individuals. Number 1. A copy of the book, Narrative of a 5 Years Expedition Against the Revolted Negroes of Suriname, authored by John Gabriel Stedman, 1796, was binded by the skin of an enslaved African man named Hottentot. Number 2. A book titled The Poems of Thomas Gray, 1798, was bound in the skin of an enslaved person believed to be from the Caribbean. Number 3. The skin of an enslaved woman was used to bind a copy of The History of Jamaica, 1774, by Edward Long. Number 4. A book titled A Treatise on the Diseases and Management of Negroes, 1795, was bound in the skin of an enslaved person, highlighting the cruel irony of using enslaved people's skin to discuss their medical treatment. Although most of the binding companies claim that they actually used the skin of these individuals in remembrance of the sufferings and sacrifices these individuals made, the majority of them had used it for their own private reasons, earning cash for themselves. This practice was mostly common amongst doctors, since they usually had the fastest way to get cadavers. In the 18th and 19th centuries, some doctors and medical professionals were involved in the use of human skin, particularly blacks, for leather products, including bookbinding, through various means. They supplied skin from deceased black patients, often without seeking the consent of the person's families. These whites did not only use the bodies of their enslaved blacks for leather, but also the skins of black executed prisoners were not left out. They would bound their own books and manuscripts in tanned human skin, seeing it as a rare and exotic material. These evil white entrepreneurs did even advertise their services, offering to bind books in Negro skins, and were never out of customers flocking in their numbers. These medical personnel saw the skin of blacks as a commodity, rather than treating it with dignity and respect. They felt that blacks were in no way different from animals, so they ought to be treated as such. This practice was a reflection of the dehumanizing attitudes prevalent during the time, particularly towards marginalized groups. The involvement of medical professionals in this practice is a disturbing aspect of medical history. According to a report from the Philadelphia paper called The Mercury, an incredible report was released in the month of March, the 17th, 1888. It recounts the author's interaction with a man who proudly wore some shoe crafted from the Negro skin. The writer lists his acquaintance with various people who had the Negro skin, cigarette cases, slippers, and matchbook covers, suggesting that he was either taking liberties or ran in some deeply troubling circles.
I remember that 2 or 3 years ago, I incidentally referred to a prominent physician of this city wearing shoes made from the skin of Negroes. He still adhered to that custom, insisting that the tanned hide of an African makes the most enduring and the most pliable leather known to man. He obtains the skins from the bodies of Negroes which have been dissected in one of our big medical colleges. According to him, the best leather is obtained from the thighs. The soles are formed by placing several layers of leather together. The skin is prepared by a tanner at Wommeldorf, 16 miles from Reading. The shoes are fashioned by a French shoemaker of this city, who knows nothing of the true character of the leather, but who often wonders at its exquisite smoothness, and says that it excels the finest French calf skin. The doctor's shoes always exhibit a peculiarly rich illustriousness in their blackness. He assures me that they never hurt his feet. The new pair he was using when I last saw him emitted no creaking sound and appeared as comfortable as though they had been worn for a month. Their predecessors, he told me, had been in constant use for 8 months. He obtains the skins from the bodies of Negroes which have been dissected in one of our big medical colleges. The best leather is obtained from the thighs. The soles are formed by placing several layers of leather together. Do not for a moment think that this doctor presents an exceptional case of one who puts human skin to practical use. Medical students frequently display a great variety of articles in which the skin or bones of some dissected mortal has been gruesomely utilized, and in bursts of generosity they sometimes present these to their friends, who prize them highly. One of the dudest dudes in town carries a match safe covered with a portion of the skin of a beautiful young woman who was found drowned in the Delaware River. It still retains its natural color. Another young man with whom I am acquainted carries a cigar case made of Negro skin, a ghastly skull and crossbones appearing on one side in relief.
Thus, said the writer in the report, but what does this say about our society when human skin is used as a commodity? Can this doctor truly call himself civilized when he wears the skin of another human being, whether it be black or brown or red? What is the true cost of fashion when it comes at the expense of human dignity? What kind of world do we live in where the skin of the deceased is used to make fashion accessories? But could doctors be the only ones involved in this? Definitely not. The American Bookbinders Company, based in New York, also used the skin of blacks, which they call the Negro skin, for leather book bindings. They would procure skin from various sources, clean and prepare it, and then tan it using traditional bookbinding techniques. The tanned skin would be softened and conditioned before being cut and crafted into high-end bookbindings. On so many occasions, the skins of enslaved black individuals has been used for leather binding, Nanny's case being a perfect example of this. Nanny, an enslaved woman from the Afro-Caribbean, lived a life marked by hardship and resilience. She toiled on a Jamaican plantation subjected to the whims of her cruel owners. After her passing, her body was desecrated and her skin was removed and tanned. The plantation owner, a collector of rare books, sought to bind a volume in human skin. He chose Nanny's skin, seeing it as a macabre trophy. The bookbinder worked diligently, transforming her skin into a gruesome cover. Nanny's skin now encased the book, a constant reminder of the brutality she endured. Her story, however, didn't end there. The book passed hands, eventually finding its way to a library, where it remained as a haunting testament to the transatlantic slave trade's atrocities. Years later, a researcher stumbled upon the book, discovering Nanny's story. Her legacy, once reduced to a mere commodity, was finally acknowledged. Nanny's story serves as a poignant reminder of the enslaved people's struggles and the inhumane practices of the past. Amongst others, Here are a few enslavers who used the skin of their slaves for leather products. Number 1. Edward Long. Edward Long was a British colonial administrator and slave owner in Jamaica. He served as a judge and member of the Jamaican Assembly, but was also known for his cruel treatment of enslaved people. Edward Long, an 18th century British historian, is said to have used the skin of an enslaved person for leather products. This disturbing practice was a manifestation of the brutal and dehumanizing nature of slavery. Long, who served as a judge in Jamaica, wrote about the supposed inferiority of enslaved people in his book, The History of Jamaica. He claimed that they were naturally inferior to Europeans and justified their enslavement. The use of an enslaved person's skin for leather products was a twisted display of power and control. It symbolized the enslaver's ability to reduce a human being to mere material, stripping them of their dignity and humanity. This practice also highlights the commodification of enslaved people's bodies, which were treated as nothing more than raw materials for exploitation. The use of their skin for leather products was a gruesome extension of this commodification. Edward Long's actions demonstrate the depths of cruelty and dehumanization inherent in the transatlantic slave trade. His willingness to use an enslaved person's skin for personal gain reveals a chilling disregard for human life and dignity. It was a way to profit from the bodies of the enslaved individuals, even after death. Number 2. Thomas Thistlewood. Thomas Thistlewood, a British plantation owner in 18th century Jamaica, is known to have used the skin of enslaved people for leather products. This practice was a horrific manifestation of the brutal and dehumanizing nature of slavery. Thistlewood's diary reveals that he used the skin of enslaved people to make leather goods, such as shoes, belts, and even a pouch. He treated their skin as a commodity, devoid of any human significance or dignity. This practice was not only a display of Thistlewood's cruelty, but also a demonstration of his power and control over the enslaved people. By using their skin for his own purposes, he reinforced the notion that they were nothing more than property, devoid of human rights or dignity. Thistlewood's actions are a stark reminder of the atrocities committed during the transatlantic slave trade. His use of enslaved people's skin for leather products is a chilling example of the dehumanization and exploitation that defined this period in history. Number 3. William Byrd II. William Byrd II, a Virginia planter, and also a member of the Virginia House of Burgesses, who served as a colonial official. He is documented to have used the skin of enslaved people for leather.
Nobody does film combat like Phone Warriors.
I'm going to show you something. Well, you said that was the past, right? That was back in the 1700s, right? And but the spirit of the people that still is in the present day. Watch this.
Gets the N-word etched into his chest with a box cutter by his white teammates. You can't make this shit up. If you haven't heard about this story, you already know what time it is. Buckle up. Let's talk about it. The student in question, whom has not been identified due to the school's policy, nor the perpetrator of said incident has not been identified. He left the school, rightfully so, after the N-word was etched into his chest. The article reads, a student athlete is no longer enrolled at Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania after they allegedly etched a racial slur onto the chest of a teammate. Several students were attending an informal gathering of the swim team at an on-campus residence on September 6th when one of them used a box cutter to scratch the N-word on another student's chest. It's unclear whether or not they're going to press charges against the student and his family. I'm sorry, what? I'm not sure at this time what this family is doing. However, I will say this. If this video reaches this young man and or his family and the school is not doing anything about it, I want you to know that you have a voice on my platform. So feel free to hit me up, I Speak 1906, on every platform. On TikTok, on Instagram, everything. Literally, I will drop you my email. We'll do an interview here. We'll get this story out wider than it already is if they decide not to do anything, because this is utterly ridiculous. It's 2024. The family literally said it was done by a student whom he considered friend. That's why I say I ain't got too many white friends. Honestly, I don't. And it's not because, oh, I don't trust all white people. I'm cautious. Very much so. Because anyone that can say that they call themselves my friend and that can do that to me, there was no report of him being unconscious in any way, shape, form, or fashion, meaning that he was awake, breathing, and conscious during this entire time. Meaning somebody had to hold him down. And or there could have been foul play. No one knows if there were drugs involved or anything like that. All of this is speculation. However, what I do know is that in order to use a box cutter on somebody's chest to etch a word into it, you gotta press pretty damn hard. I'm praying for the family, man. And to that young man, I hope you take them for everything they got and some, and add tax to it. Good day, goofies. Black student gets the N-word.
Nobody does film combat like foam warriors. All these blasters to choose from. Check this.
Served as a colonial official. He is documented to have used the skin of enslaved people for leather products in the early 18th century. One such incident occurred in 1709 when Byrd killed one of his slaves, whom he referred to as Nico, during a confrontation. Byrd's diary entry on June 17th, 1709, describes the event. I had a great dispute with Nico, who was insolent and obstinate. I struck him with my cane, and he died in a few hours.
Hey.
Byrd then proceeded to have Nico's skin tanned and made into leather goods, including a pair of gloves and a pouch. This disturbing event highlights the brutal treatment of enslaved people by Byrd and other colonial slave owners. Byrd's actions demonstrate a complete disregard for human life and dignity, as he saw enslaved people as nothing more than commodities to be exploited. Byrd's use of Nico's skin for leather products serves as a chilling reminder of the dehumanizing nature of slavery and the violence that accompanied it. Apart from using the skin of his slaves for leather products, such as shoes and belts, Byrd's diaries also reveals a whole lot about his cruel treatment of enslaved people, including physical abuse and sexual exploitation. George Washington. George Washington was an American planter and slave owner who later became the first president of the United States. George Washington case is a disturbing example of the dehumanizing nature of slavery. In the 1750s, a British plantation owner in South Carolina commissioned a leather saddle to be made from the skin of an enslaved African person. The saddle was listed in Williamson's estate inventory, which included the notation, "a Negro skin," used to make the saddle. This notation suggests that the skin was treated as a material commodity, rather than as a human remains. Megan Rosenblum, an American medical librarian and expert on anthropodermic bibliopagy, discusses how books are tested to confirm if they are, in fact, human leather.
The use of human skin for leather products is a disturbing reminder of the ways in which humans have commodified and exploited each other's bodies throughout history. These books are a tangible representation of the violence and exploitation that people have inflicted on each other. They are a reminder that the history of medicine and the history of slavery and exploitation are deeply intertwined. The idea that someone's skin could be used as a material and then bound into a book is just a really powerful and disturbing metaphor for the way that people's bodies were treated as commodities.
Rosenblum's statements emphasize the importance of acknowledging the dark history and ethical concerns surrounding anthropodermic bibliopagy, and of considering the ongoing impact of colonialism, slavery, and racism on contemporary society. One of the most notable events surrounding the black leather was the 1835 case of a slave named William Johnson, whose skin was harvested after his death and turned into a leather saddlebag. This incident sparked outrage among abolitionists, who saw it as a stark example of the dehumanizing nature of slavery. As the abolitionist movement gained momentum, the use of human leather became a rallying cry against the cruelty of slavery. In 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act was passed, which included provisions that prohibited the use of black skin for leather goods. Fast forward to today, and the use of black skin for leather continues, albeit in a different form. Companies like Human Leather use willing donors' skin for fashion products, sparking debates about ethics and consent. There's even a website where you can purchase human leather goods today, although they are closed to new clients due to high demand. And clothing isn't the only thing that these black slaves were made of. Ed Gein, an American enslaver, had a huge collection of objects made from human skin, including an armchair, a belt, a wastebasket, and several lampshades. Meanwhile, innovators like Tina Gorjanc propose growing human skin from celebrity DNA, raising questions about the intersection of technology, celebrity culture, and human leather. As lab-grown skin becomes more feasible, we're forced to confront the potential consequences of human leather, as there are various companies today who still run adverts online for the use of human skin products for leather. These practices are sometimes shrouded in secrecy, and on other occasions they're advocated publicly. Most historical accounts and records suggest that the procurement of human skin was linked to the darkest aspects of human history, including slavery, colonialism, racism, and hateful repression. To close this, the use of the skins of black slaves for leather is a heinous and inhumane practice that echoes the darkest moments of human history. It is a stark reminder of the ways in which systemic racism and oppression have perpetrated violence and exploitation against black bodies. But even in the face of such atrocities, we find resilience and strength. We honor the memories of those whose skins were taken without consent by continuing to fight for justice, equality, and humanity. May their stories fuel our determination to create a world where every individual is treated with dignity and respect. Let us strive for a future where the value of black lives is never again reduced to mere commodities, but celebrated as the precious, sacred, and powerful force that they are. Thank you for staying with us till the very end of this video segment. Share your thoughts with us.
No matter why you started your business, your goal is to keep on growing. And with them, a new analysis suggests that many black Americans believe the racial bias in U.S. institutions is not merely a matter of passive negligence. It is the result of intentional design. Specifically, large majorities describe the systems in the U.S., such as prison, 74%, political, 67%, and economic, 65%, among others, as having been designed to hold black people back, either a great deal or a fair amount. Black Americans' distrust of U.S. institutions is informed by history, from slavery to the implementation of Jim Crow laws in the South, to the rise of mass incarceration, and more. However, black Americans were never really alone in this solemn exposition.
Let me say that again. The whole history of America is the history of rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. It starts in the colonies of what would become the United States. Let's remember, during the colonial period, mid-1600s, there was no such thing as white people. I know some people who are now called white find that shocking, right? Because they think whiteness is real. But whiteness was created. Europeans didn't call themselves white. We didn't call ourselves white. We weren't all members of one big happy family. Are you kidding? Have you studied the history of Europe? The history of Europe was about killing each other. That's what we did in Europe. We just killed each other. Before we figured out there were other people to kill, we just killed each other. Right? I mean, that was the history of Europe. The English hated the Irish, right? Northern Italians didn't even think that Southern Italians were Italians. The Germans hated everybody. And everybody hated their ass right back, right? There was no team called white, no race called white, but all of a sudden, in the middle of the 1600s, there was. Why? Why was it suddenly necessary to create this thing called the white race? Well, because rich people can count, that's why. And so rich folks looked around, the ones that owned all the land, you know, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants who were just one level above a slave, or other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up and they were like, damn, we got to figure out a way to split these folks apart from one another or they're going to rise up and take our stuff.
In that sea of silence, where most who are called white would look away, there is yet one amongst us, a white American, who's been standing by blacks in their unending pain, standing out as a voice against the pervasive and oppressive impact on marginalized communities. His name is none other than Tim Wise.
Because if you know the history of the whole concept of whiteness, if you know the history of the whole concept of the white race, where it came from and for what reason, you know that it was a trick, and it's worked brilliantly. See, prior to the mid to late 1600s in the colonies of what would become the United States, there was no such thing as the white race. Those of us of European descent did not refer to ourselves by that term really ever before then. In fact, in the old countries of Europe, we had spent most of our time killing each other. We didn't love each other. We weren't one big happy family. The side of my family that comes from Scotland, hell, they didn't even worry about fighting people outside of Scotland. Highlanders and lowlanders just fought the hell out of each other. So there was no white race, but in the colonies of what would become the United States, what did we see in the 1660s, 1670s? We began to see that Africans of indentured servant status, many of them not enslaved yet, they were not necessarily permanently enslaved, some were, others were indentured like many poor Europeans for periods of 7 to 11 years. They could work off their indenture and then they would be free labor technically. Realized, as did the white indentured servants, the Europeans who hadn't even been called white yet, that they had a lot of things in common, like the fact that they were all getting their clock cleaned by the elite. And so they would get together more than our history books taught us, to foment rebellion against the elite, to try to get a better deal for themselves on the basis of economic necessity and economic justice. And what did the elite do? When you see that you're outnumbered by black and white folks who are penniless, landless, peasants, you have to do one of two things. You either have to kill them all, but you can't do that because who's going to work? Rich folks weren't going to. They had to get poor people to work. The whole point was to be a person of leisure back in those days. That was the goal, was not to work. So you couldn't kill them all. You didn't want to kill them all. You had to do the work yourself. You had to build your own levee, build your own house. No. Pick your own tobacco, harvest your own cotton. No, we're not going to do any of that. So you can't kill them, but you can co-opt them. And so the elite in Virginia, for example, in the colony, begins to give certain carrots to people of European descent, saying things like, you know, we're going to let you own a little land, not much, but just a little, and we're going to get rid of indentured servitude. Now you're free labor, and by the way, once you're free labor, you get 50 acres of land, just because you're free labor, see? So we're going to cut you in on this deal. We're going to let you enter into contracts. We're going to let you testify in court, and here's the best of all, we're going to put you on the slave patrol to keep those people in line, right? The idea was, you're still going to get your clock clean. We still don't like you. We still aren't going to really empower you or change your economic subordination, but we're going to make you honorary members of this team, and you're going to help us keep those other people down.
Tim Wise from Nashville, Tennessee is not like the everyday white American. He never did feel less concerned, nor did look away from the sufferings of black Americans. Bravely, this respectable individual has devoted so much effort in exposing just how the American system was designed to work against black Americans.
So they got a little taste of power, and it did effectively divide and conquer those coalitions. Those rebellions began to stop almost instantly. Fast forward to the Civil War era, you have rich white folks in the South, where I come from, standing up and openly admitting that the reason they're prepared to secede from the Union, and the only reason they ever articulated publicly, ever, was to maintain and extend slavery and white supremacy not only where it already existed, but into the newly acquired, that is to say, stolen territories from Mexico to the west. That was what they said. Now we lie about it. We say it wasn't about slavery, that it was about states' rights. Yes, the right of the states to keep and maintain slaves, exactly. But back then they had no shame, so they didn't try and cover it up. They openly said it, but once again, the rich didn't want to go do the work. Are you kidding? No. They're going to get poor people to go fight for them. And the poor folks didn't even own slaves. Now think, how do you get poor people who don't even own the shirt on their back, let alone slaves, to go fight to keep your slaves for you? You've got to convince them that their skin is more important than their economic interest, because think about it, if I am a farmer who has to charge you $1 a day or $2 a week to work on your farm and harvest that tobacco or pick that cotton, but you can get a black person to do it for free because you own them, who's going to get the job? not me. In other words, slavery actually undermined the wages and the wage base, the economic floor of the typical white working class or low-income person. But they were told, if these people are freed, they're going to take your job. No, fool, they got your job. That's the point. And so at some level, again, working class white people being harmed by white privilege, relatively being advantaged, right? Being given a leg up, being given a membership to the club, but in absolute terms being kept economically subordinated by the very...
One convenient location, two convenient locations, three convenient locations.
I gotta show you this video right quick about this young man that's coming through the South in the present day. Let's listen to what he got to say.
TikTok, so I wasn't gonna get on here and say anything, but I have been noticing people post about their Sundown Towns experience. The situation with Javion McGee is so unfortunate. I do pray that the family find closure. So I would actually like to share my story with you all. Side note, I'm not doing this for likes. I'm not trying to go viral. I'm just trying to spread awareness, and hopefully I can help somebody in the long run. So my story starts back in 2019. So 2019, I had a friend who proposed to his girlfriend, and they were set that October to get married. He proposed to her like that January, that October, they were scheduled for the wedding. So when him and I talked, of course he was like, bro, I want you to come down, kick it with me, share this experience with me. I want my, my friend now. Originally, so when him and I talked, the timing was bad on just my end. No bad blood, I wasn't jealous. I was just fucked up. Not even gonna sit here and play with nobody. I was just in a bad position. But he understood. My friend understood. Cool, no problem. I'm gonna try to support the best way I can because I'm here in Chicago, Illinois. He's in Orlando, Florida. Cool, no problem. So fast forward 2 weeks before his wedding, one of his groomsmen get into a real bad car accident. He was hit by a drunk driver, was in a coma, he almost lost his life. Side note, he's doing good, he's in great spirits today, but at that particular moment, bro was really messed up. So my friend called me, panicking a little. He like, man, bro, could you please come down? I need you. I don't want to change up this wedding. Man, I just need you to come and whatnot. And then on the flip side of it, I also have a few family members in Orlando, Florida. They like, man, come on, bring your ass down here, come kick it. It'll be perfect. You can do the wedding, and then you come kick it with us. Cool, no problem. So I'm like, all right, bro, what you need from me? He's like, man, I just need you to come. Since this is last minute, I'll get your tuxedo, hotel room, and I'll get your flight down here. I'm like, cool, no problem. I'm not going to leave my boy hanging. We got the tuxedo, got the hotel room. I told my cousins, I'm like, hey, y'all, I'm en route, so, it is what it is. So now I'm excited to go down to Orlando, Florida. Well, the issue that me and my friend started having was the flights. Not necessarily me and him bumped heads, but it was just more so the pricing of the flights were just crazy. I'm talking about the non-stops were close to 1,000, and then the layovers were not only about $750, $800, but they were stupid. It'd have to be I leave Chicago Midway and fly to fucking Seattle, Washington, then come back to Orlando, Florida. Those are the type of stupid ass non-stops that they were doing. I don't know why. So he was like, I'm like, man, bro, don't pay that type of money for me. You got a wedding coming up. You got new responsibilities you about to walk into. Don't pay that type of money from me. I just couldn't. For me, I just wasn't gonna do that to my friends. So he like, well, man, bro, how about I get you, not a plane. How about I get you a train ticket or a bus ticket? I declined because I'm not big on public transportation and not being funny or trying to send shots. I just like to move at my own pace. So he like, well, man, how about I get you a rental car then? And I'm like, all right, cool, that ain't no problem. Go ahead and give me the rental car. So he sent me the money, I booked the rental car. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I live in a small town called Phoenix, Illinois. Phoenix, Illinois. So from Phoenix, Illinois, going down to Orlando, Florida, it is already a 16 to 18 hour car ride. And I did that drive by myself. Okay, so I do the drive, get down to Orlando, Florida, and I must say, the drive going there was literally no problem. I had fun, I had a ball, the wedding was beautiful, The next day, they did something like a private ceremony for the groomsmen and the bridesmaids. I'm talking about we just had fun. You know, I also took a day or two to kick it with my cousin. So I actually enjoyed my time in Orlando, Florida. Now, here's where the story starts to get tricky. I was set to drive back home. Right now, it's time for me to come home. Me knowing in my head I gotta conquer a 16 to 18 hour car ride by myself, now leaving Orlando, Florida, driving back to Phoenix, Illinois. So I'm like, okay, let's knock it out, man. I get up at like 3 in the morning, I'm on the road no later at like 4:35. So I'm driving. Now this is what I do know. It already takes 6 hours to get from Orlando, Florida to Atlanta, Georgia. That I know for a fact. So I'm maybe at this point, maybe 3 to 4 hours into this drive. At most, 3 to 4 hours. So as I'm driving, my GPS reroutes me for some reason. I don't know if it was because of an accident or if it was just trying to give me a faster travel time. I don't know, but the GPS reroutes me. Okay, cool. So now I'm taking this other expressway trying to get home. I see the sign that says, you know, goodbye Florida, hope to see you again soon. And maybe a mile and a half up, maybe 2 at the most, there's a sign that says, welcome to Georgia, welcome to the Peach State. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm cooking now. I'm like, okay, cool. So I know I'm almost close to Atlanta. And then once I get to Atlanta, that means I got 10 hours, about 10 and a half before I get to Phoenix. So I'm driving and whatnot. At this point, I'm home. Mind you, I already been on the road about 3-4 hours. I'm starving. So I get off on the first exit in Georgia, that wherever I'm at. Now, mind you, I'm not being funny. Once again, it's not to go viral or anything. I don't know the name of this town. I'm at the bottom of Georgia. The bottom. Like, I just entered Georgia. I don't even know the name of this town. I don't even know where the GPS then took me, because it took me off 65 for some reason. Alright, so I'm driving, get off on the first exit, gas up my car, across the street, it's a Waffle House. I'm hungry, so I'm like, yeah, let's go eat. Get in my car, drive across the street, walk into the Waffle House. The minute I walked into the Waffle House, y'all, there was a Confederate flag hanging on the wall. When I tell you my heart jumped to my stomach, I say, fuck. So as I proceed to turn around, this Caucasian lady comes out. And she literally goes this. She said, good morning, how can I help you today, baby? I said, good morning, ma'am. Oh, I'm just here to get something to eat. I'm just trying to put something on my stomach so I can head back home. That lady looked at me with the straightest face, calmest demeanor ever. And was literally like, oh, baby, we don't serve N-words here in this establishment. So now I'm trying to process what she said to me, because I've never dealt with that type of thing. And mind you, she wasn't loud, she wasn't aggressive, she literally was like, oh, baby, we don't serve N-words here in this establishment, with the straightest face. So now she's looking at my face, because my face then turned up. And I'm like, because I'm really trying to process what this woman had told me. So I guess by my facial expressions and me trying to process it, she thought, oh, he finna act up. I got something for his ass. So she easily kind of put her hand under the counter, and I heard a gun move. Like, I know it was a gun. Like, you can hear, you can tell. Like, she put it like she was ready for me to, like, get tough if you want to, I'm gonna put you the fuck down type energy. So I'm still looking at her trying to process. Her worker had came in from the, like, back, because I had saw him outside when I walked up, so he was throwing garbage away. He came in and he looked at me, he looked at her, he said, we good up here? And she said, oh yeah, we good. This kind gentleman just leaving. Once again, I'm still looking at her trying to process. And then she said, have a good day, sweetheart. Gee, y'all, when I tell y'all I got my stuff, I got in the car and I drove. I didn't even stop to get no food in Georgia. I ain't even stop in Atlanta where I felt safe. When I tell y'all I literally got on the road, drove all the way literally till I hit Tennessee and stopped and got some damn Wendy's. Because that's how messed up in the head I was. Once again, I just know I was at the bottom of Georgia. I just entered Georgia. I don't know the name of the town. I was literally at the bottom. So I can't really give y'all them details. Once again, I originally started on 65 coming home, but my GPS rerouted me. So I'm saying this, the reason why I'm making this video is to not only spread awareness, but to let my people know I know y'all out here, some of y'all out here getting on that road to make that money. Some of y'all getting out here to go travel to, let loose, kick your feet up, have fun, and that's perfectly fine, whatever you want to do. But I am asking my truck drivers and my travelers, when we are traveling to other states, and I don't care where you're from, I don't care if you're from Illinois, Texas, California, Seattle, Hawaii, I don't care. When we're going to other states, please be mindful of your surroundings. Please be mindful of where you at. When we going into these other states, please take the time to really Google what is safe for us and what's not safe, because now lately I've been doing that. I want to be somewhere safe. I don't want to pop up in a sundown town. And to the family of Javion McGee, I pray for you all. I really do pray that you all find.
Hey, Ben, I had an app for that. It's called Green Book Global. I already got that guy tagged in the video. I'll tag him in this video too. But y'all need to find out a sundown town. I don't know what he doing, but he doing it. Y'all check him out, y'all. Hey, Ben, I had an app for that. It's called Green Book Global.
Grand Rising, my melanated brothers and sisters. I come to you today with some information I believe.
Okay. But now I'm going to show you spiritually why this happens. Where does this come from? What's wrong with us as a people? Why do we, some of us do? Watch this.
You have more important things in life to think about than your internet. At BreezeLine, we propel life forward with home.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have a very interesting topic I'm going to be sharing today, especially for those who don't understand the depths of how this manipulation of who Yahusha, the one who the world calls Jesus, is. I'm going to show you that it does matter, that there has been a mass reproduction of a lie. They use the Bible and elements of the Bible to mass reproduce a lie. A lot of people don't realize and understand how damaging it has been, but we are going to show you that the truth does matter. Before diving into this topic, before showing you the clips we're going to show you, go ahead and smash the like button. While you're doing that, share the broadcast. We want others to join in as well to get some of this knowledge and this information. Of course, we enjoy the fellowship too. Fellowship is always nice. But we are here for another round of truth. Many of you may already know these things, but this very specific head of Christ is, it has a history, y'all. A history that some people don't know. And this guy that I'm going to share, this video clip of a guy who's speaking on this issue, he has done a lot of research on this particular image of Jesus. Too many people in the world today just don't think the truth matters, especially when it's talking about the image, right? Oh, this guy connects it to some things that are pretty tripped out, which kind of corroborates some of the things we've been speaking about. The image of the beast. Now, I don't believe that the image alone, just this image, is the only image of the beast, right? The image of the beast is far deeper, and we've explained that before. But this guy is definitely on the right track with what he has said here. And we are going to share that with you. Now that I have shared the broadcast, hoping that you've done the same, I'll be able to follow along with you guys in the chat so that we can correspond together, of course. Truth is so wonderful. It's so amazing. The Bible says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay? That's right. Dezane says, folk get offended when we tell the truth. They don't like the truth, especially when the truth uncovers lies that help them to stay hidden, right? But the Most High says in the last days, the wicked man is going to be revealed. Okay? So, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the etymology of the name Jesus. We're going to talk a little bit about that too. But I do want to share with you all these video clips. Those of you just joining us, come on in. Like the video, share the video so others can join into the conversation. Those of you going to watch it, who are going to watch this on the replay, you can share it too. I thought that was a very interesting image that AI generated with the pig snout there. Anyway, I'm going to share a couple of other videos before I share the main one. The main video is where this white man has a shocking revelation about the abomination white head of Christ that was painted by Warner Selman a long time ago. And he's going to explain where the image came from, how it spread around the world like wildfire, the whole 9 yards. And of course he's going to go a lot deeper than just that. He's going to go deeper than that. I know for some this is some hard information to hear, especially those of a Christian persuasion. When we were Christians and we started hearing this truth for the first time, oh my goodness, we felt like the foundation was coming out from under us, because that's all we knew. All we knew was all of this stuff that we've been taught in the Christian church for a long time. That's all we knew. And so we felt offended, we felt hurt, we felt afraid, we felt unstable. I mean, so much came out of it because we were like, but we were Christians. We grew up Christians. And we couldn't think of any other way to live. As a matter of fact, we once believed that if you weren't a Christian, you were just on your way to hell, period, point blank, if you didn't refer to yourself as a Christian. That's how strong the deception goes. But when I began to realize that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, none of our forefathers ever referred to themselves as Christians, oh my goodness, more and more layers begin to peel back, and truth began to make more sense than the lies that we were fed for a long time. None of our ancestors, none of our forefathers referred to themselves as Christians. As a matter of fact, we didn't even know they were our forefathers because we were fed a whole lie by somebody else. Dezane says, I was like, I'm telling everybody, but everybody don't want to hear it. That's right. And when they don't want to hear it, just remember this. The Bible says one plants, another sows, but Yah gives the increase. And in some cases, the Bible tells you to simply shake the dust off your feet and keep it moving, right? You say it's your piece. If they accept it, so be it. Whether they will hear or forbear is up to them. But just keep in mind that you planted that seed, and it just might take root later on down the line. So, let's go ahead and get on into this. I'm going to share the first clips first and then the main clip afterward. So take a listen and a look, and I will be right back.
Pagan holidays such as Christmas and Easter seem to be the favorite for those of you who call yourselves Christians. Christians are the biggest hypocrites in the whole world. You won't even research the history of your own religion. Did you know that Christians are responsible for the biggest mass murders in history?
Firehouse Subs, Hook and Ladder Jingle, take 94. Hook and Ladder.
Okay, so folk don't like that one, that's for sure. They don't like that kind of truth. That's too much for them, right? That's too much. Now, of course, again, the main video that I'm going to share with you, where this guy has a shocking revelation about this particular head of Christ on the right, I'm going to save that one for last. Okay? I'm going to save that one for last. So anyway, take a look at this next one. And in this particular video, this is one that I did years ago, where I had this particular image. And at the time that I was showing this image, I didn't have the understanding of the Warner Selman Head of Christ. I didn't have the understanding. That just so happened to be the one that I printed out for this presentation. This one is short too, y'all. But I'm trying to, get around to sharing with you the main one, where this guy brings the shocking revelation. And I hope you all enjoy the knowledge and the understanding that's being brought forth here. And hey, it is what it is, y'all. It is what it is. The truth has to come out, and somebody has to bring it. And a whole lot of people are bringing it, and we have to keep bringing it, because they keep spreading the lie. So if they're going to continue to spread the lie, then we have to do what? Override it. We have to override the lies with the truth. Anyway, take a look and a listen at this next video. Shalom, family. I'm going to be doing a very, very quick video to end all of these arguments on the identity of Jesus Christ. Now, I'm a so-called black woman, and I believe 100% that Jesus Christ is a white man. Okay? I believe that. And I have proof. I have proof he's a white man. As a matter of fact, I printed my proof out before I came out here. Here it is. See that? See that? That is Jesus Christ. And as you see from this picture here, he is indeed a white man. Okay, so for all of you people who want to keep on arguing about him being black or white or whatever, this ends the argument right here. He's white, just like the artist painted him. Okay, this man never existed. Okay, now if you're talking about the Hebrew man, Yahshua HaMashiach, now he is not white. Yeshua HaMashiach is a so-called black man, okay, as described in Scripture, and so were the Israelites. But Jesus Christ, he was the creation of the Roman Catholic Church, okay? They painted him white, so therefore he is white. We need to stop arguing with people on the identity of Jesus. If they want their God to be painted white, so be it. There's no argument. Now, you can't take a name and assign a new name and a new face and think it's the same person. We're talking about two different people here. Jesus Christ and Yeshua HaMashiach are two different people. But for the record, I do believe that Jesus Christ is white, because that is how the artist painted him. Okay? I hope this ends the argument for all of you people who are battling back and forth, because you and I both know, most of us know, that this is who most white people serve right here. That is the person that they've accepted as the Son of God, okay? And you and I also know that the majority of the so-called white race would not serve a Messiah looking anything like any of us. Okay, so let's stop arguing with them over their God, if that's who they want to serve. See, the problem is we have accepted that Jesus Christ was the name of the Son of God, because that's what they told us. But if we get it through our thick heads that that was not his name, and that he did not look like this, and let them have this is their God. Okay, we're talking about two different people here. It is what it is. And all of these people talking about it doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter. Yes, it does matter. You can't assign a new name and a new face to somebody and say it don't matter. You cannot do that, and only an ignorant person thinks that you can. So yeah, Jesus Christ is white. 100% proof right here. He is white. He's indeed a white man. So let's stop arguing with these people on the identity of Jesus Christ, because that's who they want to serve. So be it. Have at it. You know, I see people going back and forth. I had this woman coming on my page. As a matter of fact, some of you have commented on it. She put it on my page that to say that the Son of the Most High is a black man. She says that it was, did she say it was an abomination or something? She said something like that will cause you to burn in hell. So in her mind, to say that the Son of the Most High is a black man is something that will cause you to go to hell. And so I said, Mildred, her name is Mildred. I said, Mildred, no. Your rejecting of the real Messiah will cause you to go to hell, because many of us so-called black people did accept this image, okay? We did accept this image, and most of us grew up with this image and accepted it, and many even worshipped it, had it hanging in their house. I didn't, I'm just saying, it's black people, period. But when the truth came out and we found out that it was idolatry and that it was a bald-faced lie, we dropped it. So for us, color didn't matter. It didn't matter to us if he was white. You know, to many of us, he could be a little 2-foot-tall midget and we would still serve him if that was his true identity, you see. But many of you are so thoroughly offended by a black God or a black Savior or the black children of Israel that you would rather die and go to hell than to acknowledge the truth. So again, this was about the identity of Jesus. He is white, and I'm out. Okay. Hey, the truth is what it is, right? The truth is what it is. So, like I said, at the time that I did that video years ago, I didn't even realize that I had printed out the Warner Salmon version of the head of Christ. So anyway, what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and share with you all this white man's shocking revelation about the abomination white head of Christ that was painted by Warner Salmon. I want y'all to see that. He says some tripped out things. Now, there's some things that, I don't necessarily agree with every last bit of it, but a good portion of it is right on target. So sit back, take a listen, take a look at the images that, he's an artist, by the way. Y'all gonna see some things that he did, right? Tripped out. Anyway, take a look and listen, and of course, I will be right back.
In the face of ridicule and accusations of blasphemy, another Brother Mark has taken a very courageous stand in posting controversial paintings as his icon and background on his YouTube channel, with the intention of exposing perhaps the world's greatest fraud, the false Christ in the image of the beast. Many people who visit the Another Brother Mark channel are either offended, shocked, or simply confused by the channel images they see. For them, Mark has offered a thorough explanation directly below his icon, along with several links to apocalypsehost.com that should satisfy their inquiring minds, but few will bother to read, as can be witnessed in their comments of inquisition and accusation. For them, he has posted a video in his vlog right on the front page titled Picture Perfect Jesus, the Glamorous Fraud. It's a very clear explanation, but people still speak without understanding because they're unwilling to take a few moments just to listen to the message and hear what has been left for them.
Discover new Dove Whole Body Invisible Cream, a new whole body deodorant that's blissfully coconut.
And hear what has been left for them. I'm Norbert H. Cox, the creator of these sometimes misunderstood paintings. Many people misinterpret them. They look at the paintings and they think that they're a mockery of Christ, when the exact opposite is really true. These paintings are actually an expose of the Warner Salmon painting, Head of Christ. This is the blasphemous image that's spoken of in Scripture in Revelation 13, verses 14 and 15. It says that the people of the earth would be deceived to create an image from the Greek icon. They would make an icon of the wild beast, alluding to the venomous creature. This is the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place. He sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. This is the wild beast, the wild one, the Antichrist, instead of Christ. Open your eyes and your mind and face the facts. The whole world wondereth after the beast. My use of the salmon image is an attempt to warn unsuspecting Christians. A series of more than 20 images were created for the exhibition Picture Perfect Jesus, the Glamorous Fraud, which began March 1st of 2004 and ran for 4 months at the America Oh Yes Gallery in Washington, D.C. The intention of my artwork is to cause people to think, to research and investigate, rather than just accept the blind traditions of men. The ultimate goal is to entice people to search the scriptures on their own. The usual focus of my work is a target of specific errors and idolatries of humanity, revealing their fallacies through scriptural references. The ridicule of Warner Salmon's Head of Christ is not a derision of the Savior, but rather it is an expose of a false image. I have appropriated Warner Salmon's Head of Christ for the purpose of exposing it as a plagiarized fraud and not the divine image that it is claimed to be. Scripture warns against a false Christ image that becomes a living icon and an object of worship in Revelation 13 verses 14 and 15. Satan's plan is to be worshipped as God and Savior. You can see that in Isaiah 14 verses 13 and 14. And in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 3 and 4, and in 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14. The Warner Salmon Head of Christ has become an accepted, authentic portrait of Christ, having been reproduced over 1 billion times since 1940. Salmon was a shrewd advertising marketer, and he had a ploy to mass market his art to the world. He found a painting of Christ that would be the perfect image to glamorize and sell to the world. It was a creation of a French artist named Leon Lermite. The painting was titled Emmaus, or The Friend of the Humble. It's a backlit Christ at a supper table, painted in 1892. Being a graphic artist, Warner Salmon was skilled in copy work. He simply copied the bust of the Christ from Lermite's painting, transforming it into a charcoal drawing in 1925. He titled it Son of Man. Salmon rendered the image as a full-color oil in 1940 and renamed it Head of Christ. His color, shading, highlighting, lay of the hair, folds in the robe, everything was an exact copy of Lermite's painting. The only difference, Salmon being familiar with the glamour photographs of Hollywood movie stars, he added the same type of a backdrop to his Head of Christ. The result was Picture Perfect Jesus. He never told anyone that he copied the image. If the drawing were original, received from a divine vision from God, it would be considered spectacular. So Salmon concocted an awesome story in which he had received a vision of light and an apparition of the Head of Christ. By claiming that the image was his own, Warner Salmon became a plagiarist, something he never admitted to.
The SSA won't.
Well, I'm going to cut this video short, but truth is coming out. And do you know they use that image in the movies, in books, and they continue to tell the story. So even over in all throughout the world, whether in Asia, Africa, they use the image. And people worship the image till this day over with an image of what he's talking about. And the image has mentally got us here like that too. A lot of people only don't really research the scriptures like the man was right. But people want the image. They want the image, just like during the Bible times. They want something to worship so they can feel connected. They want to tell the story. Remember, when they told their version of Christianity is from a Eurocentric point of view. And they continue from a Eurocentric point of view with the Bible. There you have it. There's the truth. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you... Sorry this is kind of long. It's about an hour, but I just want to put it all together. This is the reason why. It goes from something drastic to something is spiritual. That's why I put this in this video. That's why some people don't like black people. It's all connected. Some of you picked it up. You understand what I'm talking about. Take care. Be blessed. See you on the next video. Take care.